Hi, I'm John Murphy of FBF Training, and thank you for your interest in my class, Concealed Carry for Vehicle Environment Skills. Big shout out to my friend Chris Sizlove, who was able to translate his military experience and what he learned, tactics, techniques, and procedures, did a fine job moving that goal toward what we need to do in our as a private citizen. Well, why are we here? Well, pretty much, there's an illustration right there. Americans, we spend a lot of time in our vehicles. They're a constant in modern life. It's how we earn a living. It's how we seek recreation. It's survival itself anymore. Mobility is survival in this society. If you own a car, you're broadcasting. You might recall some of my other videos. We're constantly broadcasting when we're out in public, how we're dressed, who we're with, what we're doing. Well, if we're driving a vehicle or in possession of a vehicle, we're illustrating to the whole world that we've got some money. We got some mobility, which can become something, a resource predator would want to have, because they have to get around too. Or they can take your vehicle, move it to a chop shop and sell it for parts. So that is a resource in and of itself. You also have hundreds of interactions with people every day. During the course of my government career in the DC Beltway, I was driving up and down 95 for years, and every day I would interact with about 75,000 of my closest friends. And honestly, not all those interactions were peaceable. There was occasionally a bit of a digital communication going on. People were cut off, brakes were checked. It's just inevitable in this part of the world, at this time, that there's going to be some friction there. So how many minutes a day do we spend in our vehicles? And this study has at Harvard Health Watch 101. And when I put this presentation together, I realized I was 50 minutes north and 50 minutes south 5 times a week. So it's pretty average that way. Well, this class is not designed to prepare you for traveling on Route Irish in Baghdad circa 2007. No team tactics, no moving vehicle stuff. This class is entirely oriented toward an average armed citizen just looking to get home. The course will provide soft and hard skills to get you prepared across the spectrum of your requirements, which we'll be discussing shortly. Soft skills, awareness of the threat. Awareness of what conflict looks like in the vehicle environment. What bullets will do, particularly handgun bullets through glass. It's very predictable, but it's also kind of wiggy too. There's some science involved. And some various tactics, techniques, and procedures, TTPS. The hard skills we'll work on during the classroom portion itself: a seated draw stroke while belted, exiting the vehicle, using the vehicle as cover, and defeating the block in case someone kind of blocks us in. We can use our vehicle as a battering ram. So what is out there as a threat spectrum? Well, we've got, at one end, we got road rage. Resource predators. And I mentioned, the vehicle is a huge resource. And that means you've got carjackers, robbers, and that can take place anywhere in any of those venues, or even along the highway. If someone pulls over, blocks you in, bails out, and puts a gun in your face, demanding that you surrender your car. Here's an example of recently from Oakland, California. Retired police officer here. I think he's driving a Porsche, it looks like, and he's getting gas. Now you're going to notice he's at the gas station. Please pay attention to where he's got the gas hose and pump into his vehicle, and how he is now kind of pinned into that one spot. Right now they're shaking him down, getting all of his stuff. They're done with him. So he transitions now to the hunter.
Suspect vehicle 6 out of control 357 at the 07 East on Central Corner, 1 minute.
This is pretty brutal. So things here we don't normally see. First off, that police officer, he had 28 years on the force. He was in 5 previous shootings while he was on the job. So that was his 6th rodeo. You might notice there, he engaged in what I call malignant compliance. Yeah, sure, okay, sure, whatever you want. And eventually they were done with him. They got maybe his watch, his wallet, his phone, and then they transitioned their attention from him to the vehicle to see what else they could score. When they did that was when he launched his counterattack. He had a sub-second draw to that red hoodie and about a 0.2, 0.3 second transition to the second guy. Red hoodie ran away, the second guy dropped. Now, what he engaged in after that was he just had 28 years, he was hardwired to go after the bad guys. And he did. So he popped around that pump and ran into a hail of bullets. Because shockingly enough, all the bad guys didn't run away like they normally do. And also, they came back to retrieve their friend, which is something I don't think I can recall ever seeing before. So it got pretty ugly. So if you find yourself in that circumstance, accept victory, seek cover, and let things sort itself out. So here's some road rage stuff. This took place on the 1st of November 2021 in Houston. And I could just click through dozens of these things. So that's road rage is ever present. And there was an instance here in Northern Virginia some time ago on I-95, shocker, there's a bridge over the river, the Occoquan River, and it was between a Porsche and a semi-truck. And they pulled over, and it went to guns. And the Porsche had a kid strapped in the car seat of his vehicle. People can lose their minds in matters that are hard to understand sometimes. So some general secure driving tips. Things to think about to be the happy motorist. Leave an escape gap between you and the vehicle in front of you. Now that can be very hard to do, particularly here in aggressive traffic patterns, because people just will ride bumpers in order to sashay through traffic. But you want to have that reactionary gap between you and that vehicle in front of you. If they stop, you want to be able to stop. If they maneuver, you want to have room to maneuver yourself. Car length is great, but 3 feet will do at a stoplight. If you pull up to stoplight and you can see the bumper of the car in front of you, if you had to, you can put your wheel hard over to the left or right and accelerate and shoot past that vehicle and probably not ding it. But I'll note this as well, back in my Northern Virginia example, if everyone leaves that much space between their car and a stoplight here in Northern Virginia, I'm sure other places as well, eventually you're going to block the right turn lane, which in turn can torque somebody. There just seems like there's no real winning scenario here, is there? Here's a thumbs up. Drive mostly with your support hand. This is from my coffee hand anyway. Position your seatbelt holsters properly after you sit down. The seatbelt, upon an impact, when it fires, you want it to be across your lap in an appropriate area. If you're carrying appendix carry, you're going to be fine. If it's right about here, if you go low or high over that, the belt will not service you as well as you might want. It might even potentially injure you. Things to think about. Window-to-window stops, particularly at lights. Everyone likes to look over. Well, if you just had a conflict with someone, you can end up with something like this. You're having to deal with someone. Leave the window up. Here we go. There we go. Leave the window up, that glass barrier. Lock your doors. It can look like this. That one did not end as poorly as it could have, but I multiple examples of doors being opened up, people getting pulled out, and getting stomped. So lock your doors. Recognize, though, that a locked door may not be as much of a barrier as you might think. This took place in Ireland.
Making its way along the Andersonstown Road when a car sped towards it and pulled into a slip road. It reversed back out, but was blocked. A section of the crowd made for it. At one stage, something makes most scattered, but not all. Determined efforts to get at the men inside. Then, one gets out. He's forced to the ground and beaten.
That was in Northern Ireland during the Troubles. That glass, that safety glass on the side, will give way. If they have any kind of implement at all, it will shatter right out of place and give them access to your vehicle. In this case, they were swarmed, they were pulled out, and they were beaten to death. Stopping our vehicle. If you're pulling up to a stop sign or a stoplight, what have you, look for red zones. Space between the vehicle in front of you, and what is on the other side of that street, like big dumpsters, other big vehicles. Could people be behind those obstacles to your vision? Once you stop, hands go down, and we start looking around. Scan front, scan left, scan right. Check those red zones. If people are hiding in an ambush spot, they recognize they have to have proximity to you, so they'll hide behind things very close to those stopping points. Don't forget to scan the rear. We got mirrors for that. Or maybe even your backup camera anymore in most vehicles. Get your passenger involved too.
Roger, I got him. Contact 20 left at 30 miles, 900 knots closure.
Keep that scan going until traffic starts moving. This kid's a natural. So our threat number one to consider is just road rage. People just get entitled when they've got to go somewhere. They're on a schedule. Everybody's on a schedule. They got to be places on time right now, and you are impeding them, either by just on purpose or traffic flow, or on accident. I mean, raise your hand if you've ever cut somebody off, and you didn't even know that they were in your dead space. Quick look at some of the language you usually get. How dare you? Don't you, here in Northern Virginia, don't you know who I am? Do you know what you just did? And then you were an idiot. Who here has been angry at someone else? And think about the words that escape your lips at that moment. So it's not just about avoiding accidents, it's about avoiding incidents. And we can't get so ego-driven that our rage overcomes our mindset and we find ourselves pulled over with someone. That's just not going to end well. We don't want that. Here's some examples.
Hey, you got problems? You got problems? Step out your car. Leave my car, pussy.
Look at that man's face.
Get out of here. Fuck out, motherfucker. Let's do it. You want to hit the front of my car?
I didn't hit you. Use the turn signal.
Step the fuck out, bitch. Don't worry, I got a
Dude,
camera on my car,
settle
Why
down.
don't you get out?
Settle down. Go get in your car. Settle down.
Get out, motherfucker. You want to be fucking tough? Get the fuck out. Fuck your camera. Get the fuck out, pussy.
Check the rage in his face. He kept trying that door, kept smashing that window. You can actually shatter that glass with enough of a blow with your fist. Case in point, you might not believe this, but if you take a spark plug and crack it up, the ceramic off that spark plug, and throw it at glass, it will shatter the glass. It's hard to believe it. I've seen it done. Another example.
Take a video! Get the fuck out! You just tried to rear-end me and my fucking wife, bitch! Look what you did to my fucking car! I hope you have insurance, motherfucker! Get the fuck out of your car! I'm gonna beat your fucking ass! Get the fuck out, bitch! Get the fuck out, you pussy! There's only a fucking phone too, huh? Get the fuck out! You fucking bitch ass phones, motherfucker!
That one goes on and on for a while. It took place aboard Camp Pendleton some time ago. He got in a lot of trouble. There was a woman Marine in the front seat. He made a very disparaging comment to her. It just did not go well for him. And ultimately, no one was really hurt. Later on, you'd see other people show up on the accident scene, and then he really cooked off, almost like it was a display of rage and anger. Then there's road rage incidents while we're actually moving down the highway.
Be a fucking murder here in a minute.
Call the po-po. Call the po-po.
Oh, dang.
Oh, shit.
Dude.
Pushed to the point of rage, where the skinny right pedal, the skinny pedal on the right became a weapon. He used his superior speed and mass of his vehicle to knock that other car out of the way. And you would call that vehicular assault, attempted murder. I'm sure there's all kinds of charges that fell upon that driver. So to avoid road rage, just maybe don't drive like a maniac, that sashay in between lanes. Don't engage in digital communications. That really can enrage someone. Recognize if you pull over to discuss matters, you cut me off, I cut you off, whichever. If there's going to be a fight, it is now going to be anchored and happen right there. You want to avoid that. Don't stop to have these conversations. Keep moving. If you do get stopped, don't get out of the car. That car is a barrier. That glass in that door is a barrier. That if they bash through it to get at you, well, that tends to put the eye of the law upon you in a very favorable light, because you were being a non-aggressor. You tried to separate yourself from the situation, perhaps even waiting while law enforcement to arrive, and that person came at you through that barrier to injure you. So that may play out very well in your favor if any subsequent conflict and legal action. The horn. Use it sparingly. Like, beep, beep, oh, hey, here I come, something like that. That long, angry horn beat thing, it just sets people off. Getting blocked in is an issue we'll discuss more. If people put their vehicles in such a manner that you can't move yours, that's called blocking, and it's a very undesirable circumstance. And do not engage in willful disbelief that this is not happening here. This person is not angry with me. I have not just had this fender bender. I have not witnessed this accident. No, you got to be there in the moment. Do remain mobile and in the vehicle. Contact the police with a description of where you are and what is happening. I'm a big fan of dash cameras, and everyone has a camera now on their phone. If you find yourself being pursued and followed by someone, do not drive to your home. Go to a fire station, which is they're usually manned 24/7, or better yet, a police station. Take into account, yeah, I'm sorry I cut you off, if it comes to that. Other people have opinions as well. Certainly an option. And do consider getting a dash cam. And that last one a little bit. If you find yourself, well, we'll discuss. In a post-accident environment, we'll discuss that in a moment. Remember, we win every fight that we're not involved in. It's a victory. You want to avoid that fight unless you've got no other choice. And what circumstances would those be? You've been hard stopped or blocked in. A hard stop is your vehicle has been disabled or blocked. They're actively trying to enter your car and had the means to do so. And it could be a rock, it could be a tire iron. And if you have a family member inside your vehicle, or even on the outside and you're getting carjacked and you've got your kid in the car seat, that is a whole nother level of response required. And that is obviously a parental or a guardian response. You got no choice. You've got no choice. If you must fight, there's a couple options. One is from inside the car, shooting out through the glass, and we'll discuss that in a moment. And fight from around the car, using it as a cover and obstacle to observation and concealment. So pistol bullets will pretty much zip right through a windshield, but there are some ballistics involved here. This is a windshield, angled glass, and I got this information and finally got straight from a guy named Phil Groff of Vigor Training. Great guy, his vehicle class was awesome. That bullet's flying around 1,100 feet per second, and it comes into contact with the glass. And the front part of the bullet slows down. The back part of the bullet keeps going with inertia and mass. And what happens is the bullet tends to get deflected upwards. So you're going to find that lovely 25-yard zero you've got with your gun, you really can't shoot much further. Well, here's what happens. Not much of a thing. Pretty anticlimactic. But generally, no further than the hood of your car. And if you get a chance, take into account aiming low. On the side windshields, it's safety glass. When it hit with a bullet, it just disappears. Like it wasn't even there. You can actually shoot from side to side through the glass on the car and hit on the other side because the bullet's path isn't deflected very much. Tinted glass or laminated glass has an even greater effect. It's much harder for a bullet to penetrate through. Now there's bullets, barrier blind bullets on the market right now. I know the FBI has bought one for their issued guns. It's a more dense bullet that goes through glass and other barriers better. I'm unaware though how that would translate to our world right now. I can research some data on that. The bottom line, no further, the hood distance and no further with your handgun. You'll see a lot of people in carbine rifle classes will take their rifle and shoot a hole out the windshield and shoot through that way. That's certainly a technique, but it really doesn't apply to our world. When do we get out of the car? Well, it all depends. Has to be technically advantageous, or I'm going to get out and intervene on behalf of a third party. Say I come upon a car accident, and there's injured people there. So I'm going to get out and help people. We've been hard stopped, or we're deliberately blocked in. Here's an example of a hard stop. This is a carjacking from South Africa. You see the vehicle pulls in front, the other vehicle from behind, they can't back up, then they're swarmed. Everyone is extracted from the vehicle. The guy with the AK is given like the go around. You know, it's essentially men at work, pay us no mind. They're fortunate they get their family out of there, they lose their vehicle and their effects, but they maintain their lives. And then the convoy rolls off. If you're blocked in, you got option one. You've got your handgun, which when you shoot the handgun, those little bullets, those 124 grain bullets, projectiles, shooting 9mm, produces foot-pounds of energy. Option two, that skinny pedal on the right, when stomped to the floor, will produce foot-tons of energy. A whole lot more energy to knock stuff and people out of the way. So what I'm saying is driving away, some would say off the X, is certainly an option. If you're going to do that, aim the heaviest part of your car, your engine block, at the corner of the blocking vehicle, preferably the lightest part, the rear, where the engine isn't. And then, ramming speed, the Deathmobile. It will defeat the block by knocking that car out of the way, and you may have to back up and hit it again. Let's not forget, we got the R down there as well, the R for reverse, to back out. And let's talk about that for a second. If you were surrounded by a mob, your car can actually be stopped by a mass of bodies. It can, particularly if you don't have time to build up a lot of velocity. And then think about what you're doing in that particular circumstance. It can get pretty interesting legally. On the other hand, if you're blocked in like that and they're trying to come through the glass, well, it's just an interesting time. About 15 miles per hour should work and not set the airbags off. And this is an in extremis technique. But if someone's preventing you from free travel, they have a plan for you at that spot. You cannot stay at that spot. Here's an example. This is from Los Angeles, summer of 2020. You see this vehicle is negotiating its way through a crowd. They take exception to this because they're blocking the street illegally. So they get through. And they have a plan. They have a vehicle already designated to run these people down, anyone that runs their blockade.
Prius, and now a bunch of the demonstrators are trying to catch up to him, including that black pickup that has been leading the pack.
Here's a block.
Cutting him off. They have the driver pretty much boxed in.
Window is open.
One of the demonstrators is now trying to pull the driver out of his vehicle. Right there, just collided with another car that was also part of the demonstration. And an additional person getting out. And you see that one person using
Here's the bike.
like a flag, perhaps a skateboard there, to damage this Prius. And now the driver is able to get away.
And LAPD treats this as a felony stop. This is a scenario that comes to us from after an accident. This took place in San Bernardino, California. A guy swerved to avoid a car.
For a Sunday morning captured every minute.
A dog, rather.
Turned out to be a deadly confrontation for San Bernardino County Sheriff's Deputy Larry Falsey. That's him on the right, just after a minor car accident that happened when two dogs ran across the road. Falsey was off duty and stopped to talk to the other driver. After about a minute, watches the man in the black sweatshirt rears back to throw a punch that proved to be fatal. After that single hit, Falsey fell to the ground and never got back up.
Typically, after an event like that, emotional states can be very transitory. And it can be like, oh my God, this is my prized possession. How am I going to get to work? I can't get my kids from the school. And people just get ramped up and ramped up and ramped up until finally here, he threw that blow. Knocked the man out. He went down. He hit his head on the pavement. Brain bleed, and it killed him. Subsequent to this, he tried to leave the scene. Another truck came in with a big, like, bulldozer truck and just plowed him down the road. It was kind of a nightmarish situation. After an accident, maintain distance, preferably around the hood of the car. Now, this past August, I got rear-ended while I was driving through Colorado Springs, and I had a chance to put all this to work. We pulled off to the side. The lady who had hit me, she recognized it was her fault. Things were really all well and good until her boyfriend showed up. And he was angry, and he was looking for the slightest provocation from me to throw me a beating. He wanted me to insult. I don't know what it was, but he was very fists were clenched. He was leaning forward like that. And all I did was I handed him a Gatorade out of my RV because it was what it was. We all had insurance. No one got hurt. It was no big deal. But I wanted to maintain distance from him during that course because I was expecting him to work up to a rage. If you have to exchange, it's so important to have it twice. Maintain distance, call the police. You may think you have a good script for your 911 call. Trust me, that 911 operator will extract more information out of you to deliver to the officers responding. The big thing is an injury or non-injury accident. That's a huge determinant for them. Exchanging information. Back in the day, we had each other copies of our insurance certificates. Well, now our insurance certificates are on our phones as documents. So what I ended up doing, she laid her license down and we took pictures of each other's license and stuff. That's how we do it in the modern era, which of course gives you proximity to someone. If there's a slightest doubt in your mind when this person's losing their mind, stay in your vehicle and let the cops do the exchange. Now this next bit, you hit my car. Well, actually, sir, you cut me off and you ran me off the road. You hit me. Rah, 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 and off we go. Consider a couple of things. I'm sorry this has happened. Let's call the police. I'm sorry this is happening. Let's call the police. Alternatively, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think you could be right. I think you're right. I think you're right. But that's not what happened. Why are you lying, John? Because I want to get this guy chilled out. Because when the cops come, the only story that really matters is the story I'm going to tell the police. Carjackings, closer look. You are seated and belted closed in. You may have limited mobility. It's kind of a, well, it may not have that much mobility, but if you can, just drive away. To get to your pistol quickly enough, the best way to go, I think, is appendix carry, but we'll discuss strong side hip as well. You have to see this problem coming. Remember that scan we're doing? Hands down, heads up. Scanning. If you are behind the curve, give it up! Whoa, okay, here, I'm unbuckling the belt, I'm getting out, here's the car. When you're transitioning the car over to them, maybe a chance for you to counterattack, and we will rehearse this during the course of the class. The door, your body posture, your position can screen your draw stroke and allow you to get your gun into play. However, once they get into the car and no longer pose a lethal threat to you, wave goodbye. They can no longer harm you, so you are no longer justified in using force against them. What if? Looks like something like this. This is a four-man carjacking crew coming after that. They just ran their car into the ditch. All four of these guys bail out, and they're heavily armed. I see there's an AK. They're even throwing shots up the street. An AK, another long rifle, a long arm of some form, another AK. Rips her and her kid out of the car, and then they acquire a new car and keep moving. Resource predators. The nightmare scenario, you just saw it. Multiple offenders armed with rifles. That's a tough call. I think she played it right. She complied, got her child, and got the hell out.
Video here. Broad daylight. Two men have forced the victim out of the car at gunpoint. This just happened at a gas station near Greenfield and 6 Mile yesterday around lunchtime. And in more surveillance video from a week ago, the two victims are caught completely unaware. They've just left a wedding and they're grabbing food at a Coney Island when they're ambushed. According to police, the same two violent suspects are behind at least 3 other carjackings and robbery.
So what you see here is a swarm attack. They're just up on you with the guns out. And they will literally come out of nowhere. They can come out of the shadows from behind obstacles. You know, 15, 20 yards, they close, and you are that far behind the curve. Pulling your pistol out while you are at gunpoint, that is a last-ditch move. From the realm particularly of if you can't deny or delay them or deceive them a bit, if they're just coming up starting shooting at you, well, then you've got no choice. You got to go. But by and large, it's best. Every dog will have their day. Just wait for a while. Wait your turn. And I think that's a John Correa saying, wait your turn. In parking lots, the thing with parking lots, you're task fixated because you have a mission. You got your groceries, you bought your stuff, you want to transition your groceries into your vehicle and go home. You got to expect people to approach you when you're doing that, because the criminal element, well, they're predators, and that's what they do. They will wait for an opportunity to approach you. And while you are mission fixated, or you're kind of trying to corral kids, there can be a whole lot going on. That is when the approach will take place. So expect it. So where do you park? That's kind of governed by the principle of calculated risk. Sometimes you want proximity to the front door. Sometimes you want better lighting. Sometimes you want more or less traffic. It all depends on where you are. The further you have to walk to the entrance is a consideration, because all along the way, along those parked cars, well, those are blind spots where people can pop out. So looking for other vehicles, walls, boundaries. What's the weather like? If it's raining really hard, well, you're going to kind of want that natural human tendency to park close up to the entrance. Are your kids with you, or less mobile adults? All part of the things you have to consider to make that calculated risk of where you're going to park. So I can quote from my friend and mentor, Tom Givens: expect to see what you're looking for, so you won't be surprised. If you are looking for people who are hanging out, casually looking at you, that's an indicator. I mean, people just don't do this. If they're leaning up against that wall, and they come off that wall when they see you, that's an indicator. They're oriented on you. Expect to see that, so it won't be so surprising. Remember, you are most vulnerable getting out of and into your vehicle. I call it the V of vulnerability. When you park your car, look around. Make sure there's no one within eyesight that you can see that can close on you when you open up that door and you're halfway in, halfway out, and then they come up and slam on you. You're very vulnerable. Likewise, same thing when you're getting into the vehicle. Quick look around. Make sure there's no one within range that can close on you fast enough when you're going through that transition. So look around. Pay attention to people who are paying attention to you. Normally in these parking lots, you'll see people moving stuff. They're all in their own world. A quick scan around. If people are not in their own business and they're looking at other people who are in their own business, well, then that's their business. It's probably benign, but have serious doubt if they attempt to close proximity on you. Leave, give a verbal command, hey, would you stay right there, please? I got nothing for you. And get in that vehicle and drive away. So let's say you're heading to your car. Everyone's got the roles. Think about when you're coming you're walking to your vehicle, you've got your route. Keep your head on a swivel. Looking around, looking around. You're looking for people who are moving towards you, who are oriented at or otherwise oriented on you. Decide on the path to your vehicle. I have a friend and colleague of mine, Pete Birmingham, and he has a thing called the Birmingham maneuver. And in some parking lots, what he will do is he will act like he's walking in one direction, and then suddenly turn and go off in another to where his car actually is. What he's looking for is people that were maybe tracking on him, and now suddenly they have to reorient in order to get back on interception course. So I call that the Birmingham maneuver, and we'll be practicing that in the course of the class. Be quick. Within 5 yards, get in your vehicle, you're looking around, plan for rapid entry, look. Recognize you may have a task to do, carrying items. If it can be a team effort, that's great. One person's transitioning the stuff into the vehicle while the other one's pulling security. Or trying to keep someone's corralling the kids, lock them into the car seats while the other's pulling security, but I recognize single parents or just a full family out with just one parent in the vehicle. You just can't always do that. So hopefully as your children grow older, the older ones can help you in that task. Managing your entry devices with your key fob and stuff like things of that nature. Consider driving Miss Daisy. And by that I mean, you put your passengers in the rear seat, lock the car, go around to the driver's side, unlock your door, go in, and get in. That way you don't have to unlock all the doors, and they're still secure in the vehicle while you're transitioning to make your entry into the vehicle. Once you're in the car, eyes to mirrors, engine on, start moving, then put the belt on. That's right. We're moving the vehicle before we engage the seatbelt. I want to get that vehicle moving as quickly as I can. The longer I'm stationary, the more vulnerable I am. No cell phone time, no internet surfing, in the car and start rolling. Now at gas stations. Now this is, got a little carried away here. I like to do, if I can, I will do a lap around the gas station, if the circumstances allow me. And here I am, I'm doing a lap. It's a Shell station here in Woodbridge, Virginia, my former hometown. And I'm doing my lap. I've already done, this is actually the second lap. I saw this on my first lap through. I saw what you're about to see. Two guys just hanging out at the gas station. That does not look right. Gas stations are meant to be very transitory places. You show up, you buy your gas, get your Mountain Dew and your Slim Jims, and you move out. People hanging around, that's just an indicator if they got something in mind. Pump selection. You got a couple of options here. I like to go to the pump furthest from the entrance to the store. It gives me more space to see who's approaching my vehicle. Remember to look behind. If you get too task fixated, look around. Avoid the black hole of attention, and by that I mean the gas pump. I mean, you get your card. Card goes in, card goes out. Wrong way. Always the wrong way. Back in, back out. All right. Enter PIN. Blah blah blah. And every time you do a transaction, look around. Car goes in, car goes out, or car goes in, stays in anymore. Look around. Enter PIN. Look around. Every time your attention gets sucked in, put it back out and look around. Be aware who's around you, what they're doing. You'll know what right looks like. What normal business in a gas station looks like. People are getting gas, they're washing windows, they're tending kids, they're checking their vehicles out. Remember, people will come out of nowhere, particularly when your world is task fixated. Here's an example. This guy is delivering newspapers early in the morning. And these guys are like, oh yeah, this is a great vehicle. I think we'll start it. He appears, unbeknownst to them. And now, they split back up. It's pretty brazen at this point. But he's holding a gun on him. When there's a pistol pointed at you, it is not the time to assault people, or I don't think you'll shoot me. Challenge the authority. That's how you can get shot quite easily. Here's another perspective. The guy whips around, or another perspective I say. You see the guy's doing his thing, he's working. And these kids bail out, and they just like, oh look, here's an easy car to pick. And it looks like they get the vehicle and that day's edition in the local paper. A few random thoughts. Appendix inside the waistband carry I have found is the best for working in and around vehicles. It's much more comfortable than you might think, particularly if you have an excellent design from a company like Filster or Dark Star Gear or Spencer Keepers. High-end stuff. JM Custom Kayaks as well. Great gear. It's quick. You can access your pistol, and your seat. It doesn't occlude your seatbelt wear. Do not carry a pistol in the small of the back. You imagine sitting in your car and having to reach that. You're just not going to be able to access that pistol. Also, eventually, if you get knocked on your butt, when you fall down at the base of your spine, that big hunk of metal, it causes an injury that will kind of momentarily paralyze you. So small of the back carry is a very bad idea. Behind the hip is okay. I mean, we did it for the longest time. But as you see, we'll do some classroom work here shortly. We have to move our hips to get access to that pistol. Car holsters. They're just a bad idea. They set you up for so many failures. In an accident, is the vehicle accident, is that holster going to stand in one spot? Is the gun going to stay in that holster? There's a lot of G-force in a high-speed accident. Things go flying. They become missiles. And if you need to find that gun subsequently to the accident, it's not going to be there. The other big problem with it is the cars are not a holster. So many guns fall in the hands of criminals because people leave them in their cars, and then they don't even lock their cars. It's kind of a disaster. Other people will take their pistol and wedge it between the seat and the console. Again, a profoundly bad idea. In 1986, in Miami, the FBI got involved with two various bad actors, and it was the practice of the time to pull the revolvers out and put them under their legs, so out in the holster, and put them under the legs during the course of the pursuit, so they can get to them really quickly. Well, this pursuit terminated in multiple car accidents, and guns just went flying. So no wedgies. Read that fine manual. We ride on computers now, and your fob can be programmable. You can set things up for what doors will open, what lights will come on as you approach. You want to minimize that fumbling and futzing about. You got all other kinds of car gadgets to learn how to work. Dash cams, backup cams, side view cams. Some trucks have like 360-degree cams. It's some amazing times in automotive technology right now. Have a plan for who gets into the car and when. I talked about driving Miss Daisy, everyone goes in the back, or the passengers get locked in, I go around to the other side, they unlock the door, my door, I get into my door, lock the door, and then we get rolling. Pillars in the vehicle, the A pillar, the B pillar, the C pillar. These are necessary for the structure of the vehicle, for safety and security, but just be mindful, and we'll illustrate this during the course of the class, that these pillars are also obstacles to observation. And a candid criminal can approach you in such a fashion along the A pillar, you can't see them walk up on you. You'll see that in the class. Again, not a holster, not a gun safe. And this is I can't believe they stole my gun out of my truck starter pack. All those stickers are making a very powerful statement. Motorcycles, they're hard to see, and they can do lane splitting and cutting, things like that. Well, there's also, they have, the riders have a device which will allow them instant access to your car. Let me show you what that looks like.
First time we're hearing the dramatic 911 calls from that family in the black SUV chased by enraged bikers on the West Side Highway in 2013. You can hear the panicked driver, Alexia and Leanne, plead for help right before the bikers dragged him from the SUV and began punching and kicking him. Then his terrified wife, Rosalind, screamed at the bikers that their 2-year-old daughter was in the back seat.
Did you see how fast that man gained access to that vehicle using his helmet as a bludgeon to knock that window out of the way? Here's another example.
Look, I got kids. in my motherfucking trunk. Did you see what the fuck you just did to me? I got that shit on goddamn camera. I don't care. No, bullshit.
The helmet is also a weapon. Now, I'm told by some friends in law enforcement that their batons are still effective on guys wearing helmets. A bit on that conflict you heard there, I got kids in my truck. So why are you doing what you just did? I understand you're upset. Also, when people default to they have like a rote, I don't care, you're not communicating anymore. You're not having a rational discussion. There's no conversation taking place there. Seatbelt placement is a thing, low across the hips. Otherwise, upon impact, what you'll do is you'll submarine under the belt. Understand the legal concept of preclusion. And that will be a question that will be asked if you find yourself in a self-defense incident. What could you have done at these points to have avoided what ultimately happened? Preclusion. Be found having acted in a rational, prudent fashion. And you're looking for the off-ramp to any conflict. Looking for the off-ramp. Yeah, this is how people get jacked up lately. And I, too, have been approached by panhandlers who have stopped, pulled over, feet in my face. And it's kind of annoying and angering that they sneak up on you, but don't set yourself up for that by doing stuff like this. Establish boundaries and make pre-decisions. What I'm going to do when. What will I do if I witness a car accident? What will I do if I'm involved in a car accident? What will I do if I am a victim of a crime? What will I do if I'm a victim of a crime and my family is with me? These are things you have to have thought out beforehand. Because at that moment, your higher cognitive processes are going to be, well, a little bit knocked offline or otherwise occupied. You need to have a mental template you can fall into in order to act prudently, promptly, and decisively. Little diagram here is stuff you know, all right, and the gold, the stuff you don't know, and then the red stuff you don't know. This is a little play on Secretary Rumsfeld, and then stuff you just learned. Thank you very much for your time. I'm looking forward to the class. See you on the range.